following is a production of DallasCowboys.com and the Dallas Cowboys Football Club.
How about them Cowboys?
Let's go, baby!
Are you ready for a break?
Yes.
Are you ready for a break?
Absolutely.
Ready for a break?
Yeah, and so much for that.
It's time for The Break on DallasCowboys.com.
We were on the break!
With Nick Eatman, David Hellman, Ambar Garcia, and Derek Eagleton.
It is Wednesday, May 26, 2021, Season 16, episode number 111. Welcome to the latest episode of The Break. We are presented by Geico, and we are live from the SWBC Mortgage Studios at the Star. Got Dave and Amber and Nick here with me. Yes, Nick. Nick here with me. We're going to talk some Cowboys football. We got to catch you guys up on all that happened yesterday. Cowboys are starting their OTA practices. Yesterday, it was open to the media. Several players were able to talk to the media. Dave had an opportunity to talk to even more players. So we'll catch you up on all that stuff.
It was a very hectic day because a lot was going on. PR should have divided things up in several days, I think. But you got practice, you got Mike McCarthy, you got players and players and players and players.
You know what I can't figure out?
That's a slider right across the plate, right off the bat. We're not starting with fastballs or I love it.
I can't figure out if pregnant Amber is spicier than regular Amber. I think it's probably the same.
I think it's the same.
Yeah, I think she's always been like that, so I don't know if
No, my tolerance level has gone lower. but it was just a lot. It was just a lot. You had a week. You know, you could have spread it out a little bit. At least the interviews. That was a lot to take in.
But it was a lot of information that we got to dissect because there were a lot of different people that talked, a lot of different things that were interesting. Let's start off first. And I was not, just in full disclosure, I was not able to attend practice. I had lots of other things going on. You guys all attended practice. So a lot of this is going to be me just trying to get answers. I want to know things, and I'm hoping our listeners out there want to know kind of the same things I want to know. So I'm just going to throw a lot of questions at you guys about different things. And again, we're going to start this by prefacing this is OTAs.
Yeah.
Like, obviously, these guys are in shorts and T-shirts, and it's not the same as what even training camp will be. The level of what they're doing right now is not that, but just kind of getting some general feelings of things you guys saw and getting an understanding of maybe kind of how things look right now. All right, so let's start first with what I think is the most important and fun part of the story is you got your quarterback back. Dak Prescott back at practice. He's out there. Tell me how he looked.
Well, he being out there is the most important thing, like you said. I mean, he brings so much energy. Just having him there, that's what a true leader is, and there's no question about it who the leader of the team is. And you know, when he's not there, we all saw it, felt it in that game against the Giants. I mean, you could just kind of see. How did he look? I thought, you know, he wasn't 100% as far as. Like, and I don't mean he's not 100%, but I don't think that they're like turning him loose yet. But I thought he threw the ball well, and I just thought his presence of pushing this thing to be out there, to be with his team, that was great.
Yeah, I mean, and they didn't cut him loose. He didn't do team stuff. That's by design. It sounds like he won't do that till training camp. But yeah, I mean, everything else pales in comparison because he looks pretty damn good to me. He looks ready, like shockingly so. You know, like I kind of went into yesterday like, all right, I wonder if he'll even do anything today because he was doing stuff during the closed OTA on Monday, and he did a full. He did 7-on-7. He did individuals. I wrote about this yesterday. He actually got intercepted, which is typically bad in practice, right? But the throw, you know, his primary reads weren't there, and he broke out and was like running across the field like we've seen him do so many times, and he like fired it to CeeDee Lamb probably 20 yards downfield, but just, you know, torqued his body, threw off his foot, just doing Dak stuff, and he didn't look like a guy that had broken his ankle to me at all. I mean, he was throwing it 30, 35 yards downfield. And good for them. He doesn't need to do everything right now, but he looked like he could, and that's amazing. Like, that's all real. I don't care about anything else if I have that. I mean, we'll get into the rest of it. It is interesting, but that's that's numero uno for me.
Well, again, OTAs, you're not full go. But remember when we used to talk about Dak being bad at practice and he just wasn't a good practice player?
Right?
Yeah, we talked about that a lot previous years. And that wasn't the case. Like, he was moving there very well. And those little, what do you call those cushions that they set up on the field, and then you kind of go over it with your feet? You could see the leg movement and the leg work and the feet, how he was moving it, and he looked good, and the arm looked good, the precision looked good, and his calves muscles, they're there. He got some muscles there.
Man doesn't skip leg day.
No, he does not. So that's a good indicative that he has been working out. He has been able to put the kind of pressure and work out that muscle. Again, I'm not a doctor or anything, but it looks like these muscles have been able to work properly based on looks of it.
I saw Dak walking through our part of the building a couple weeks ago, and Shannon, it was Shannon and I, and Shannon he stopped him. He's like, "Man, you look like you lost weight. You looking thin." He was like, "Nah, not really thin, but I'm definitely in shape. Like I feel like I'm in as good a shape as I've ever been in." He said, "Actually, I feel right now faster and more agile than I think I've ever been because I think I'm just in that good a shape right now." So, it kind of stuff. I mean, he did look like he was more, I guess svelte might be the right word. Like, he didn't look as bulky, but he certainly looked like he was in great shape. So I'm interested to see how he looks when he's on the field, and certainly when they get to training camp and they have him going full go. I think, I'm starting to get excited about what this season can be for him.
I think it's natural, especially when you've seen so many serious injuries, to be like, okay, like it's a process. He'll do this today, and like in a couple weeks maybe he can do that. I got the impression he could do everything if he wanted to, or if they wanted him to. Yeah, and that's day 2 of OTAs, so that's definitely exciting for what he could be doing in a few months.
Yep. All right, let's talk about the linebackers. I think that's probably the next topic that a lot of people want to find out about. We had heard that, obviously in the week before in the rookie minicamp, Michael Parsons mentioned that he was working at middle linebacker. So then the question became, so what are they doing with all these linebackers? They got so many options at this position. Did you guys see anything, or were you able to get a beat on anything with maybe how they're going to deploy all these different resources they have at that position?
Not really. And nobody's jumping in on that answer either.
Yeah,
I wanted to see what you had to say first. We didn't watch practice together.
No, we didn't. And I look at it like, and remember, the coaches know exactly what day the media is out there too.
Absolutely.
So whatever they're trying to install, this is install time for OTA. So unless I missed some things, I thought they threw a lot of different things out there. And you also have to remember that Jalen Smith wasn't in the team part of it because he's still limited from his time back. He was doing some things, but nothing that had any kind of contact because he had wrist surgery.
Yeah, he had surgery on his wrist, which, and yeah, all these guys are on their different timelines, different things that they're allowed to do. Dak didn't do team. The tackle Tyron Smith and Lyle were out there all day, but they were held out of like the stuff that involves contact with people for the most part. Jalen wasn't even hitting sleds because he hurt his wrist, so I get that. But he did do 7-on-7. So my impression is mainly just they got a million of them, and they were all. It was hard to keep up with, honestly. I mean, Leighton was in there with Jalen. Leighton was in there with Keanu Neal. Jalen was in there with Keanu Neal. I do feel like they worked the rookies together mostly, for the most part. I'm sure that's not, I'm sure Micah Parsons got in there with a vet at some point, but Parsons and Cox were together for the most part. And I feel like that makes sense too. Bring them along at the same speed. Don't throw them into the deep end too quickly, whatever. But I mean, it was mix and match all day, and for them, I would say the vast majority of what we saw in terms of offense on defense was 7-on-7 stuff too, where you don't really get to see the linebackers mixing and moving with the defensive lines. I mean, I'm sorry if you want me to be in here just but Micah was screaming off the edge as like a designated pass rusher. No, it didn't. That didn't happen. But we did get to see a lot of rotation between all of these different guys.
And, right now, it's one thing if you're like, okay, we've seen Rod Marinelli's defense for 7 years. We know what he's trying to do. With Dan Quinn, we don't really know that. We don't. This is the first practice we've really seen with him. I guess the rookie minicamp, but you still don't have a good idea of what he's thinking of a guy like Keanu O'Neal and what he's thinking with Jalen Smith and Parsons and all that. So. It's fun to watch, but I mean, we still, the jury's still out on what's going to happen with these guys.
We're going. Actually, I wanted to. Did you have something else?
I hate myself because I'm trying to be
no
nice.
Self-hate here.
I am trying to be nice. No, but you know what? Something I can say is with Micah Parsons, and I know it's a very small scale, but to me, the very small little taste that we got to see, he looked good. And to me, he looked like he belonged in there. He had the instincts and the movements in there compared to, I don't know, some veteran that just doesn't look like.
Well,
Jalen.
Jalen doesn't look good right now. Yeah. He doesn't. He looked. I don't know if I'd hate to say it's because of his surgery or wrist or whatever, but he did not look as fluid as he has looked in the past. And I know in the past he hasn't been he looked as.
So he looked less fluid because that's one of the things I've thought since he's gotten here. That's one of the things that always looked odd to me. Like he always looks like if you look at the top part of his body, I think you were saying this to me yesterday, Amber. You look at the top part of his body, he looks like he's working really, really, really hard, right? But you look at his legs, and his legs are kind of plodding along a little bit. It just looks weird.
I think everybody should. I've been very critical of Jalen Smith, but this seems extreme to me. Like. And again, go watch the tape from last year. It's all there. I get it. But, this is an OTA. It's an install. Just right. Right. I was about to say, I hope everybody out there looked fluid in shorts and jerseys. And then, again, it's not even a training camp practice where you're thudding up. The whole thing is okay, this is what we're going to run. This is the key. And everybody on defense, you see it time and time again. They flow to the ball carrier, and then they always do that kind of thing like a sprinter where they throw their arms up. They're not actually going to hit anybody. Right. So you're not. There's no contact whatsoever. It's literally just read and react to what's happening and try to get there.
Exactly, and the read and react wasn't there to begin with, in my opinion. And that's
an install. Is it 4 years? It's not even a practice.
4-year veteran? You got 4 year?
Jalen's been here. Jalen's been playing since 17. So,
well, he's a veteran. He's a guy that to me just he should not have looked that way. And I'm not trying to compare him to Parsons at all. Different guys, whatever. But at the same time, it was refreshing to see, and it just made me feel better about the draft pick selection and the Cowboys making that pick, and me thinking that. And again, it's very early, like Dave said. This is just OTAs, and you're creating opinion based on very little things, but from what I watched, I just feel a lot better, and it makes me think that this guy, Parsons, he's going to be a good player for the Cowboys, and he's going to be able to really help and do the kind of job that the Cowboys are needing a linebacker to do.
Yeah,
Why are you laughing?
I'm laughing because I'm thinking he looked like Romo out there. That's what he looked like. He did.
We'll save that conversation.
Well, he did. He looked like Romo.
We're going to have that conversation.
There are some guys that really jumped out to me yesterday, and we'll talk about it. But that's mainly because of low expect. You're like, whoa, this guy that isn't really on anybody's radar. He's making some plays. Okay, but I thought Micah Parsons and Jalen Smith looked basically exactly the same. They were doing the same stuff.
Really?
I mean, they're
it's
running around.
Everybody sees something different. No, I get that. But again, the kind of things that Amber's talking about, you should be able to see in shorts, like the fluidity and the ability to be agile and change direction and move. Those are things you should be able to see in shorts. And it sounds like she's saying she saw something different than what you're saying you saw.
The one thing I paid attention was to the linebacker.
Fair.
I don't know, I don't know. I don't think I'm imagining things, and I trust your knowledge, Dave, for sure of what you watch. But
that's fair.
I'm for sure I've watched those two guys.
I'm just pitting the young people against each other because I like to see them fight.
I don't like this. We're supposed to be a united front.
No, because he'll have other things that haven't.
Right, we're the olds, yeah. So I like to see the youngs fight every once in a while.
I guess, and that's I tried to watch everybody. Maybe I didn't, but that goes back to the whole thing of we fall into these off-season traps where it's why he looked so great at training camp. Why wasn't he any good? And so I refuse to sit here after one day of OTAs and be like, Jalen didn't look good. Like,
there's nothing else to talk about right now.
And especially when whoever has told him he's limited. I mean, he's limited in physical contact, and maybe he's limited in maybe mentally. He's like, all right, I mean, I'm not going 100%.
Right.
I can't do what I do and hit.
Which, by the way, might be what they want from him right now.
So maybe it's unfair a little bit, but he. We'll see. I mean, he's a lightning rod. I mean, everyone's talking about him, number, all that kind of stuff, and they just want him to be better. Just be a better football player. That's what everybody wants.
And I guess that's probably my thing. It's nothing against you, but like day one of OTAs, we're like, Jalen still looks like crap, and then everybody hears that, and it's like, well, see, what are we doing here? And it's like, let's not overreact to one day.
No,
in
you're
shorts.
right.
I will say this, and this is going to be a question. I'm not asking you guys this question right now. I think I've asked a couple of you this question over the last day, but this is a question I think we're going to ask in training camp a lot, and certainly once we get to the season, is how many linebackers on this team will be better at specific roles than Jalen, which will limit the amount of snaps he's going to get. When you start thinking about who are your best base linebackers, who are your best two linebackers that you want to have out there in nickel, who are your best coverage linebacker, who's your best linebacker that maybe you want to use to blitz. When you start looking at all those different roles that you can come up with for linebackers, I just wonder. I'm wondering aloud, like how many of the linebackers that are currently on this team will be better at each of those roles, which means you start finding ways to not have Jalen on the field because other people are just better than him in those roles. That's going to be an interesting question that they'll have to answer throughout training camp and heading into the season this year. All right, let's talk real quickly about the offensive tackles. I know, Dave, you said that they weren't doing everything, but just in how they looked moving around, obviously both of them coming off of surgeries last year. What did you guys see from the offensive tackles?
For me, my baseline is like, what are you doing at the start of OTAs? And we'll get into this with Kazee as well. Like he had a full day of reps, and like not a lot of people were expecting that. People,
coming off a very serious.
There are people thinking like maybe this guy's a pup consideration, maybe he's not ready for the start of camp, and it's huge that he's able to participate. And the same thing goes for Tyron and Lyle. These are serious injuries that required big surgeries. And no, I mean they're not going to go out there and pancake people on day one, but they did team stretch. They disappeared for 20 minutes probably to get treatment, and then they came back out and they were with the O-line. They did 7-on-7, most of it on air where they're just dropping in their stances and getting familiar
technique. Yeah.
But again, the fact that they're able to do that on the first week of OTAs, that's huge, because in my brain, and I'm not saying that's necessarily 100% right, but in my brain I'm like, all right, if you're participating at the start of OTAs, I assume you'll be ready for training camp. That's my thought process.
Yep.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like at times they're sort of joint at the hip, because they kind of do things together. Lyle and Tyron, they were running out there together midway through practice, and then first team, you reps, and then boom, they both are. But I feel like, and obviously that's not the case when it comes to their rehab, but I feel like Tyron, if I don't see him until the Tampa Bay game, I'm okay with that. I know he needs his reps and all that, but I'd rather not do anything that's going to trigger this, because he's going to have.
Does that include
setback.
Practice? You don't necessarily want to see him in one-on-one drills.
Starting to sound like me a little bit. Keep
With
the
him,
Pro Bowlers out. Yeah.
With him specifically, because I know I don't have a lot of time with him. He's going to have some issues, and I would hate that he gets banged up trying to block an eager Terrell Basham around the edge in Oxnard, and he's out 3 weeks, which goes into the season. I mean, when it's time to play, he'll be ready to play.
But does it bother you that maybe because he hasn't played in so long and he's coming back from that injury, if you don't give him that time, then he still is operating at a bit of a deficit when you get now to game speed and you're in games. I get your
Arizona,
point. He knows what he's doing.
Arizona preseason, J.J. Watt, can you please go up against them for a little bit, give him some reps? Cool,
Yeah.
Get out of there.
Okay, good.
We'll see you in Tampa.
So we're on the same page. We do want to
Yeah.
see some reps, and I definitely think during training camp, I think you want to ease him in and let him do some stuff.
Yeah.
Because I don't want him the first time he's really doing anything being a game situation.
Well, I'll tell you this, too. If he's not practicing a lot, and I know you got to get Lyle in there, I want Lyle on the left side, too. I want him some left tackle reps, because if something happens in the season, I feel much better about him at left tackle than I did Now I don't know. Inseki, I guess, could be out there.
Yeah.
I don't know if he's played both. He probably has. If you're a journeyman lineman, you've played everything. So whatever is the best fit. But I mean, I wouldn't mind seeing Lyell maybe do that a little bit too.
Yeah.
So.
Hopefully they'll move a lot of those guys around because I think they found out last year that you got to be prepared for every scenario.
Yeah.
So I think they should take the time to be able to move those guys around, make sure you got some different options of ways you can align them. All right, let's take our first break. When we come back, I want to talk about a couple other positions. I want to talk about CeeDee Lamb. He's a guy we haven't really talked a lot about. I don't think anybody's really talked a lot about him. I want to hear from you guys what were maybe your impressions yesterday. If you happen to notice him being out on the field, running around, anything stood out. We'll talk about that when we come right back. This is DallasCowboys.com radio.
Honey, big news.
Gary, are you okay?
Oh, I'm not Gary anymore. I'm Jackie Flash.
What?
See, I want the latest smartphone, but the best deals are only for new customers. So, to get a new customer deal, I changed my name to Jackie Flash.
Okay, but the best smartphone deals at AT&T are for everyone, new and existing customers.
That's huge. Then guess who's getting a deal?
Is it Jackie Flash?
Jackie Flash.
It's not complicated. At AT&T, our best smartphone deals are for everyone. Restrictions apply. Visit att.com for details.
Hi, I'm Clint Tillison with United Ag and Turf. Cooler weather makes it easier to work outdoors, and we can make it even easier. With our Buckaroo package that features a 3025E 25 horsepower tractor with a loader, rotary cutter, box blade, and a trailer for $295 per month. And the price you see is the price you'll pay. No surprises. What could be easier?
Visit UnitedAgAndTurf.com. Offer ends February 1st, 2021. Restrictions apply. See dealer for details.
Now, let's get to work.
New Dr. Pepper Zero Sugar. You deserve it.
I do deserve that.
You deserve decadent flavor without sugar. And a day at the beach without sand getting everywhere. And a relaxing bath that your children don't interrupt.
I deserve all that?
It's really just a visual metaphor for Dr. Pepper Zero Sugar. Everything you want, nothing you don't.
A visual metaphor on the radio. I do deserve that.
Dr. Pepper Zero Sugar. The zero you deserve is finally here.
Before there was a draft, you could size up a cowboy by 3 simple factors: the crease in his hat, the bend of his brim, and his unbending attitude. A man Stetson didn't just protect him from what life threw at him, it projected a rugged, unstoppable spirit. Stetson hats are still American-made with pride right here in Texas. They're still the unofficial crown of all self-respecting cowboys, and Stetson is proud to be on the field with America's team. Find a retailer nearest you at stetson.com/cowboys.
Back to the break.
Dallas Cowboys football and Dallas Cowboys cheerleaders dance youth camps are back this summer for athletes and dancers of all skill levels. 2- and 3-day camps are available at AT&T Stadium and the Star in Frisco. Spots are limited. Register today at DallasCowboys.com/academy. Support our friend Danny McCray.
Danny McCray.
His youth camps.
All right, welcome back. It's the second segment of the Break Live from the SWBC Mortgage Studios at the Star. We are presented by Geico. We're going through some different observations from the latest OTA practice yesterday that you guys were able to witness. Let's talk about CeeDee Lamb. Again, we haven't talked a lot about him. One of the things I was interested in, and I noticed this happens a lot, with players coming into their second year, typically going to that first offseason, you tend to see a change in their bodies. They start to get a little bigger, sometimes a little more muscular, sometimes a little leaner, just depending on what the position is. My question for you guys is, did you see anything different about CeeDee Lamb? Did you see anything that stood out to you about CeeDee Lamb, or is he still just the same bad A that he was last season, you know?
I think he probably he looks like he's been in an NFL weight program for a year. Like I get, he looked a little stockier. I was thinking about this yesterday. Like, way fewer restrictions at practice yesterday. I was giddy yesterday. Like I got to be around the team. I got to be close up at practice. It felt
you haven't done that in a year and a half.
Even training camp, they made us watch from 60 feet above the field. So yesterday might have been the closest I've ever been to CeeDee Lamb. I've never met the guy.
Introduce yourself.
I didn't see him. He didn't, for whatever reason, he didn't come by. I think I saw everybody else on the roster, but not him.
You were looking forward to that too.
It's fine. But I mean, he looks stocky. He looks like he's probably put on some muscle. I don't want to just go overboard and be like, oh, he's so yoked. Like he's
Lou Ferrigno.
Yeah, the shape of his. But yeah, I mean, he looks like he's in shape. And Amari took the day off yesterday. He had a knee scope. I think way back in February. He seems like another guy that they're gonna be very cautious with, which is fine by me. But CD was kind of leading the show yesterday, which I thought was especially interesting because Michael Gallup is more, he's more senior than he is, which I'm not trying to make any drama there, but like CD was sort of leading the group, doing the drills first, and kind of it seemed like he was taking charge to me. I don't remember him doing anything nuts. He actually, the pick I mentioned, that got picked off trying to throw to him. Deontay Burton made the play, which how many people listening to this even remember that name? But nothing insane, but he looks like CD.
Okay.
Deontay Burton, just by you mentioning that, I looked at the roster at one point because before he made the pick, he almost made another play. And I was like, 33, he's a big-looking corner safety type guy. And I bet you, even though Burton will probably not make the team, knowing what Dan Quinn likes out of his defensive backs, he was like, okay, who's this guy? Burton. And they're like, he's a safety corner. He's like, oh, no, he's a corner. Like, he looks exactly like you would want, like he wants to play. Now, is he good enough? I don't know. He's kind of bounced around for a couple of years. But prototype-wise, Deontay Burton is exactly the type of guy that Dan Quinn wants as his cornerback. I don't know what is he? I would say 6'2", 225.
I'll just say I don't know if you have an AG, but I just know
6'2", 210.
Jordan Lewis stands out like a sore thumb. We'll say that. We'll say that. Love him though, but yeah. So.
Well, yeah, I mean, we saw that they were basically looking like we got a type. They definitely got a type when it comes to cornerback.
But he's
not that type. But
I had a chance to catch up with Jordan though, and I think that's interesting. Like Dan Quinn was here when they offered him that contract, and I know to some degree they needed to cover themselves and make sure that they had starters. And I asked Jordan, I was like, for you to be willing to re-sign here, they probably had to, I would assume you would want some assurance that you're going to have an opportunity and probably just not immediately be relegated to like the fifth string on the bench. He was like, chances to make plays and get on the field is what it's all about. And I definitely took that into consideration. So, and we'll get it, I hate to do the whole like first string, second string thing in training in OTAs, especially when there's injured guys. But I will say, probably the most constant thing at the entire practice was the first three cornerbacks. Like Kelvin Joseph got some reps and Nahshon Wright mixed in, but like when the big dogs were out there, it was Anthony Brown and Trayvon Diggs on the outside with Jordan in the slot, like damn near every time. And so, not saying that's what it'll be when training camp ends, but that seems to be their preferred situation until otherwise notified.
Do you think that's also maybe a function you mentioned earlier that you saw that rookies were out there together a lot? You think that may also be a part
Probably.
of that where there's kind of keeping let the vets be out there together. Let's keep the rookies just watching while the vets are out there for a while, and then maybe a little later or certainly by training camp you start mixing them in.
I feel like I remember Joseph getting in there with Diggs, but that's anecdotal. Maybe I'm wrong. So, but yeah, no, I think there's something to that. It's like letting the young guys work together and not overwhelm them too much.
If he would have caught it, we would have probably not spent 30 minutes of the show without talking about Nahshon Wright because he made a play that looked like, it was your Deion Sanders type break on the ball, pick it, and would have been a touchdown the other way. He dropped it though.
Oh,
he dropped it. But the break, good show. But the break that he made on the play, it was great. It was a great play, and then of course it's much better if you drop it. Then you hear the whole, "Oh, that's why you play corner," and that kind of stuff.
Anymore,
right? But I'm just saying it was encouraging. I thought. Just
if you're asking, and again, it's all weighted, right? Like I'm not impressed by CD unless he does something like the Vikings catch, like that the expectation,
right,
and the stuff we saw him do at training camp all last summer, but. So with weighing expectations, like Nahshon Wright and Reggie Robinson caught my eye several times. And Reggie had two breaks. Like he broke up and it was against here. I got my notes right here. It was against better players. He's one of the guy that he stole Simi Fajoko's lunch money. He just reached right in there and punched it out.
We're not going to talk about Simi right now. He's
But that goes back to the Jalen thing. Like, okay, like he got bullied a little bit at his second OTA as a 5th round pick.
Was it just that day? Like, again, I've heard people talk last week that he didn't look great, and then I heard it again yesterday that he didn't look great. At some point, you start saying, does he look great? Like,
it's a learning curve, man. It's a steep learning curve.
I feel like it depends who you're talking about, because like a guy like him, you haven't seen him, and he's new, right? So you're like, okay, you got to give him some time. And I'm not trying to bring back Jalen into the conversation, but then it's different when you're looking at a guy like that you've seen in the past. So you have a different, like Dave said, expectations. It's all about expectations. So, the 2 corners. And talking about defensive backs, I mean, when you're watching OTAs, it can get kind of boring. It's exciting because you're getting to watch football and the veterans and the rookies together. But then it's like, it's not really full contact or anything. But they made it exciting. It's like, oh, okay. With those plays, you're like, okay.
100%.
Now we're getting some action here.
Exactly. Like Nahshon Wright, he did it twice, and do it once, and you're like, whoa, okay. And then okay, Nahshon.
Right.
And
Is that Nahshon again?
Reggie did the same thing, and it was Dak. Dak was looking for Aaron Parker on a flag route to the sideline, 18 yards downfield, and Reggie just dove and kind of poked it away from over his shoulder. It was a great play, and it was a good throw by Dak too. Like Reggie Robinson just made a great play. So, and going back to your point about Fehoko, that was Reggie last year. We're like, oh, they were excited about this guy, and he looks awful. And so for him to flash in the first opportunity that we're available to see him was exciting.
I will tell you this, and I know it's way too early to be doing this, but I am really starting to wonder if we're going to look back here at a few years and we're going to say Nahshon Wright is a better player than Kelvin Joseph. And I know we're way early. I think they're going to – I look at it like this. Those coaches are going to have every reason to want Nahshon Wright to succeed because he fits the mold of what they really want. And so if they're even, like if they come out and they're even and Wright isn't clearly better – I think Nahshon's going to be the guy that gets the opportunities. So I don't know.
I'm not saying that you're wrong because nobody knows how any of these guys are going to pan out. That's what makes it fun. But I just love the way that you're like, I don't want to get too ahead of myself, but he's better. He's better. He will be.
I mean, if you finish that and you said, I don't want to get ahead of myself, but maybe Nahshon Wright, maybe he's going to be the third corner in the history of the NFL that's 6'4" and taller that's good. Because there's
not a lot of
them.
There's
like 2.
Yeah.
I mean, I think there was a guy in Miami, Sean Smith maybe. Mm-hmm. And am I missing someone?
Was Sean Smith that big? I remember him from Miami. Was he that big? I don't know.
I mean, but Bobby Taylor from the Eagles was 6'3".
Bobby was good though.
Oh yeah.
Oh okay. I thought you were saying he wasn't that great.
No, he's not 6'4". I mean, and I'm just saying that there's just a reason why guys that tall aren't cornerbacks. It's just hard for them.
How tall was Troy Vincent? Because they were together, and Troy was he was a taller corner. He wasn't really. I don't know if he was that tall, but he was probably 6'2", 6'3". I would guess. Yeah.
Again, it's not. I mean, it's just. He's tall and lanky. He looks like Pat Watkins from back in the day.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
You went back.
Yeah.
Troy Vincent's listed at 6'1". 6'1"? I get Nick's point, and
there's just not many of them.
He looks really fluid moving in a straight line. If you watch his tape, it's open space. That makes sense. Open space is a problem for him. Yeah. So it's a very small sample size, but considering the amount of debate and outrage about that pick, it was funny and fun that he looked really good in his first opportunity in front of media.
Yeah, and then the same thing, I heard some similar things last week in the rookie camp about him. Like, oh wow, he's kind of looks better than I thought he would look. So again, he's just piquing my interest, and so that's kind of the fear of doing these kind of shows. Sometimes you get out there and you just talk about things that kind of pique your interest, and then before you know it, everybody's like, well, you said Nahshon was going to be great, and it's just like that's just what I'm starting to kind of formulate.
It's okay. Mind, I'm sorry if it's boring radio, but it's all right to sit on the fence for a little while.
True.
True. Well, the thing is that we talk about that play, Nahshon Wright broke on the ball. He almost picked it. He didn't, but it was good. But I can't even tell you the answer to this. But what you also have to factor in is what was the pass? What did the pass look like? Well, who did it come from? And how long did the quarterback stare down the receiver and be like, "I'm throwing it to you"? And then so we don't factor it all in.
It was Ben DiNucci throwing to an undrafted rookie running back in the flat. Just so we're clear, if I don't know, so
don't water it down. Let's not water down the play. Let's just enjoy what we saw.
That's not Mahomes to Mike Evans on week one.
It's not. It's not.
What am I doing? Brady.
Yeah, that's okay.
I don't know what I was doing there. I had Mahomes, and then I went Tampa.
You'll have to play them both. So
we're just killing all the fun of this show.
But you have to.
In week 5, Amber's going to be like, "What were we doing saying these guys were good?" And then I catch hell. That's why.
You know why?
I'm trying to do damage
the
control
because of you. Because you created Cow Bites. Cow Bites, this 30-second clip that sits up there on YouTube, and it's just like, did I say that? Did I say that? And all of a sudden, we got our team in the back, Chris Beam and his guys would be like, yes, you did. And you're like, dang it, it's Cow Bites.
I'm just wanting, I want as clear a picture as possible so that people aren't in my mentions demanding why I sold them a bill of goods.
No, I get that. And honestly, again, like I said, that's the hard part of doing shows like this. You say out loud what normally you just think to yourself, or you say to a friend, like, "Hey, man, I'm wondering about this guy might actually be better than we thought." And then you get painted with that brush forever.
On the air.
Yeah, you're that guy forever. All right, let's jump on. I want to talk a little bit about the center position.
Can I ask something real quick?
Yeah.
It's something that I keep forgetting every time, and it reminded me of when Dave was talking about Jordan Lewis and insurance and assurance and the Joe Looney. Mm-hmm. I keep forgetting about him, and I'm always like, okay, what was the deal with him? What happened with him? I know he hasn't signed with any other team. Why is he still sitting out there? I don't know if you guys have any, or you, Nick, if you have any other information.
I think it's a wonderful question.
I get the guys that they currently have right now.
I don't know exactly, but I know if you go to the other side of that page, the numerical side, in that order, they got 4 or 5 guys with 2 numbers out there. 4 or 5 guys on double numbers, but look at number 73. Who's number 73 on that roster?
I don't see a 73.
Right. And I think there's something to be said for that.
I think so, too. And I
think he's waiting.
Have you heard that? Because it's just a guess on my part.
It's really just a guess. But I think that it's like we're going to let these guys see. And we know what Looney is.
Yeah.
If we need him.
What do they love to say? Like, create competition, paper over the holes in their eye. They didn't do that with center. Mm-hmm. It's the Tyler Biadasz show, and I know Connor McGovern has done it.
Other guy too was on.
Well, I was about to say, I heard Farniok played a lot.
So that's what I was going to say. Like, all through the offseason, it's like, well, Connor McGovern can do it, and Connor Williams has done that. And during McCarthy does the quarterback school, Biadasz. It wasn't McGovern, but Biadasz and Connor Williams was actually snapping during the quarterback school. And I was like, okay, that's really interesting. But then we get into team portion, and Matt Farniok, the last pick, was the first team center. And as far as I'm aware, Tyler Biadasz is fine because he was overdoing
for Biadasz. Like, is he trainer or something?
Yeah. He was in the offensive line drills. Like, I think the other offensive linemen and maybe some of the rehab guys were working on stances and stuff during the team periods, while Farniok is running with Dak, which kind of blew me away. No disrespect to Matt Farniok, and he played center at Nebraska, so it's not completely out of left field.
A
little bit, yeah. I think he made one start at center.
One start and a few other games.
But it just kind of blew me away. And you think about it, you're just it's weird to me that there's not like a true center, and then to see Biadasz doesn't really, and I don't want to overreact to one day of OTAs, but I would assume Biadasz would just be the first team center all the time. Like, he's the guy, he needs to work with Dak as much as possible, and that's not what was happening. So it's interesting, and I wonder if they're kind of like, if we really don't feel good about this by the time time we're getting ready to go to Oxnard, we can call Joe.
Yep.
It's just a guess.
That's kind of what and I agree. I mean, I guess that too, and I don't know if the leave it as jersey number open is something, but I think it might have something to do with the fact that he thought he might be coming back, and I was told the second or third day of free agency that Looney that could happen this week. So there were talks of him coming back. He thought he was, and it just didn't materialize. And now here we are. Then you get closer to the draft. You're like, let's just see what happens in the draft. Now let's see what happens in OTAs. But I think he's still sitting there. They haven't lost his number.
I can just picture, with the amount
his jersey number.
That too. With the amount that Stephen Jones has talked about their cap situation, I can just picture him being like, how much does Joe want? Ooh, like let's see what we got here, and we'll call him.
Maybe that price comes down the more you wait, right?
I was just gonna say, even if not with the Cowboys, it's just crazy to me to think that he's still sitting out there.
Yeah,
and
starting
no other
center.
team
Starting center with guard capability. He is a valuable game day guy. But I go ahead.
No, I was just gonna say that might also be because he's like, I really want to stay in Dallas. I want to wait it out and see what happens there, because I think if he really wanted to go get a 1-year deal from somebody, there's a team out there that would have given him a 1-year deal.
Yeah.
I don't think there's any reason to believe that that's not the case. So I think this might also signal that he wants to be here, and he's just going to wait it out. The Cowboys are going to wait it out and see what happens.
It is so obviously opposite of what they usually try to do, that they're just like, yeah, we got this guy we drafted on day 3 last year and not a whole lot else.
Well, I don't know what's been said behind closed doors, but I would go to the guy that you paid $40 million a year to, and I'd be like, hey, this is the guy that gives you the ball. And this is the guy that blocks right in front of you and makes the calls to make sure the other guys block the right guy. Who do you want? I mean, you can't say that about a lot of positions, but with him, and you're trying to protect him, like I would put Dax. I would weigh that in because I did hear that the reason why Biadasz didn't play a lot in the second half of the year over Looney was because of Andy Dalton. Because Andy Dalton wasn't comfortable with Biadasz's shotgun snaps. They were too erratic, and he had to keep his eyes. He had to get his eyes off of the defense and onto the ball because they were a little bit. We don't think of it all the time, but the ball here or here, we just know. We're just looking down. We look up, and the guy's got the ball. But Andy Dalton, he couldn't see. He couldn't. I mean, there would be blitzes coming, and all of a sudden, next thing you know, he's got to get the ball down here. Looney was a little bit better with it, and Dalton, I think, preferred that. I'm not saying he said don't. He just would prefer it. So that's something Biadasz has to work on this offseason. Those shotgun snaps have to be right here, ready.
And I'm the guy that already said, don't make too much of who's first string, second string, third string in May, but center, you probably want your preferred center and your preferred quarterback working together as much as possible. Yeah. I mean, it seems like it would make sense. Yeah. So it's weird. It's a weird. I got my eye on that.
All right, let's take our final break. When we come back, I want you guys to talk about Damani Kazee, because there were a couple people that told me, man, he was got to watch yesterday. There were some things he was doing out there that was pretty impressive. So we'll talk about that when we come back. This is DallasCowboys.com radio.
Hi, I'm Clint Tillison with United Ag and Turf. Before you can park yourself in front of the game, park yourself in a John Deere and power through your chores. Our Land Run package is a 1025R, 25 horsepower tractor with a loader, rotary cutter, and a box blade for $229 a month. And the price you see is the price you'll pay, no surprises. So don't miss another kickoff.
Visit UnitedAgAndTurf.com. Offer ends February 1st, 2021. Restrictions apply. See dealer for details.
Now let's get to work.
Honey, big news.
Gary, are you okay?
Oh, I'm not Gary anymore. I'm Jackie Flash.
What?
See, I want the latest smartphone, but the best deals are only for new customers. So to get a new customer deal, I changed my name to Jackie Flash.
Okay, but the best smartphone deals at AT&T are for everyone, new and existing customers.
That's huge. Then guess who's getting a deal?
Is it Jackie Flash?
Jackie Flash.
It's not complicated. At AT&T, our best smartphone deals are for everyone. Restrictions apply. Visit att.com for details.
The Cowboys way, where 16 Hall of Famers and 5 championships shows us what success looks like. Where turkey is always the second best part of Thanksgiving Day. Where we are all defined by one single thing, the star. Where we as fans know it's our job to keep the tradition going. Bank of America is proud to be the official bank of the Dallas Cowboys and to support the quest of living life the Cowboys way.
Copyright 2020, Bank of America Corporation.
New Dr. Pepper Zero Sugar. You deserve it.
I do deserve that.
You deserve decadent flavor without sugar and a day at the beach without sand getting everywhere. And a relaxing bath that your children don't interrupt.
I deserve all that?
It's really just a visual metaphor for Dr. Pepper Zero Sugar. Everything you want, nothing you don't.
A visual metaphor on the radio. I do deserve that.
Dr. Pepper Zero Sugar. The zero you deserve is finally here.
Back to the break.
Get the ultimate fan experience for the ultimate Cowboys fan. Join Dallas Cowboys United, presented by Globe Life, starting at just $20. Join now. Get your exclusive fan pack and member benefits. Visit dallascowboys.com/united for details.
Welcome back. Final segment of the break, live from the SWBC Mortgage Studios at the Star. We're heading into a holiday weekend, so we'll get this show done. And then it'll be a nice little couple days here, a few days. I know I'm going to be out for the next 3 days. So it'd be good. Yeah. You going to get some time?
Sure.
Amber, you getting some time?
When do we get off?
The company's giving us Monday. But
That's it?
Yeah, but if you want a little extra time.
Weekend plus Monday.
Take a little extra time, Dave.
I'm going home tomorrow night.
There you go.
I've been
Go see
seeing
the
my
folks. Make sure you tell
family in
folks I said
forever.
hi.
I will. Thank you.
Can you bring back some food from New Orleans?
I will try.
That would be great.
I will try.
I really appreciate it.
You always say the same thing, and it never happens.
I know. He never brings any food back, but
Well,
it's a lot of work.
No, it is a lot of work.
That is so,
it's a lot of work.
That is so
You just put it in a container and bring it.
That's so backwards.
Just bring
coming
some
from you.
seasoning
Why?
and then cook it over here.
There, maybe that, but
What?
seasoning or something. But like, you gonna bring home some food? I mean, like,
Yeah, I'm not going to bring you a.
You're the pickiest eater ever.
am
Like,
not.
if it isn't right, like, I mean, so I can't imagine coming in Dave's
am not
car
a
for
picky
8
eater.
hours and coming back.
I'm flying, but
Oh,
I'm not a picky eater. I'm really not.
I know what I like.
That's exactly
okay.
what I like.
Whatever
It's
you
not
say,
picky.
boss.
It's just I know what I like.
Whatever
I eat
you
a lot
say.
of stuff.
Maybe it's not picky. Yeah, not picky. You just like it prepared.
Yeah,
the right
I got to assume
way.
I like it prepared.
That's okay.
But I assume everybody that cooks in New Orleans knows what they're doing because that's a place where you don't find bad food very often. You really don't.
You're not wrong.
So
Wednesday night, Saints game right after Thanksgiving.
Cannot wait.
Yep.
Cannot wait. All right. I do want to talk about Damani Kazee because it sounds like from everything I've heard, and you guys can jump in here wherever you want to jump in, but from what I heard, he probably, if you had one player you want to identify as the standout guy that a lot of people are talking about, he would be that. Tell me what you saw.
Well, it's just for me, it's just a baseline of where the guy is. If he's a basketball player that's coming off an injury and he does an alley-oop dunk right off the bat, you're like, okay, that's what he can do. Now, that doesn't mean that he's going to do it all the time, but what can he do? Where is he health-wise? We didn't know, and he made a play. I'll let Dave describe it, but he made a play that just lets you know, okay, I didn't know he was. Honestly, didn't know he was going to be out there, and he was actually.
Yeah, I don't remember him making a specific play. To be honest with you, you do it.
Okay. Okay. Sorry, I thought we had talked about it. I guess it was Rob, but
you and I talked about it.
Yeah, maybe so. You guys look alike.
My brother from another mother.
No, he made a play. It was just one of those, the play breaks down, the quarterback's looking down the field, and then decides to check it to the running back out in the flat, which was Kazee's responsibility as well, keeping his eyes. And it was a Rico Daddle out of the flat. Right when he caught it, boom, Kazee was there. He made a cut to get there and to be right there on, and of course he makes the sound, ooh, I got you and all that. Who knows who would have won the battle? But the whole sideline erupted, and whether or not that was just a great play by a defensive back, or some of them know, hey, this guy's coming back from an Achilles injury. Everybody knows who's coming back from an Achilles injury. I mean, that is the kiss of death. Nobody wants to hear that word. Nobody wants to do it, especially as a safety who has to backpedal and then plant, go. He did it. Does that mean he's back? I mean, I don't know. But he made a play that I didn't think he could make. I didn't think he was going to practice it. I didn't think he could make that play in May.
I was shocked when I saw him get on the field and play. Shocked. Blake Jarwin tore his ACL in week 1. That's widely regarded as, in this day and age, an easier injury to come back from. He didn't do anything yesterday. Damontae Kazee tore his Achilles in week 5, so like a month later, and he's out here in May. And like not just a little bit, like he was out there a lot. Him and Jaron Kearse and Donovan Wilson mixed in. Those three were like the predominant first group out. And I would bet Kazee had 35 reps or so between 7-on-7 and team and all. I could not believe it. And now that you describe that, I kind of remember it. But just him being out and
You
cutting.
talked to him.
I did. Yeah, super nice guy. He was supposed to talk to the whole media, but he had to go pick up his kid from school, I think, or something. So he had to. But like he gave me 5 minutes. I said that I was like, a lot of people on the outside are surprised to see you out there, and he's like, oh yeah, I know. Like he was like, I know exactly what people say about Achilles injuries and stuff like that. And he was talking, what an awful situation to be in a contract year and suffer that injury. He was like, I learned a lot about like the real nature of this business, like not knowing where I'm going to be, not knowing if, how am I going to come back, who's going to want me. He said it was a big relief to get a contract.
Did you ask him if he's run into Zeke yet?
I did not. I don't think I want to. I'm trying to make good impressions.
If you remember, Zeke scored a touchdown.
Demolished him.
Yeah.
He
kind of laid there for a little while.
I will say,
you mean literally ran into Zeke lately.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Yeah,
I thought you mean like ran into him in the conversation. No, literally.
Okay,
yeah. I got you. Yeah.
I made a joke. At Jordan's expense earlier, and I'll say that we made a big and rightfully so. We made a big deal about how all these tall guys, all these 6'3", 6'4" corners, and Dan Quinn has a type. Dan Quinn again. He had to have been involved in re-signing Jordan Lewis. He was definitely involved in bringing Kazee here. And Kazee is small. He's a small guy. Like there are not very many NFL players where I'm like really looking eye to eye.
5'11", 174 pounds. 174. Like that's light. That's our. You say 190 over
you're saying eye to eye?
I'm not trying to. If he's 5'11", I don't think he's 5'11". Maybe I'm misremembering this.
You're growing, Dave.
No, I'm not. I promise I'm not. No, and like
growth spurt.
Eye to eye is an exaggeration. I mean, he was taller than me, but like. It felt like I felt normal, not just like, oh, hey, Zach Martin, like nice to reach up and shake your hand.
You don't have to do a full extension on your arm for the microphone.
Like
right?
he felt like a normal sized person to me. Where and then Nashawn Wright's walking by and just swinging these 8-foot long arms.
The whole wide receivers, like the rookie. When I was down there for a rookie minicamp and all the wide receivers were walking by, I was like, the Mavericks would have a hard time with this group. I mean, like not last night, they were good, but just tall, lanky group, and there's not a lot of which surprised me about the receiver they did sign that Johnny Dixon.
Oh yeah,
he was one of the receivers from the workout with Brett Hundley. And he stood out, I guess, more than Hundley. But if we have time, can I mention this about the backup quarterback? Sure. I don't think it's a huge problem. I'd be okay. I mean, Garrett Gilbert, I'm okay there. I really am. And they've looked around, and they might still sign a guy, but based off what we saw from Dak, and I think he's going to be fine, and I think Garrett Gilbert's going to be fine.
I've been maintaining since last year when he played in that game. I know that it didn't end up the way the Cowboys wanted, but I thought he played a pretty good game, all things being considered with, he got here, and within a week he's playing football at quarterback. And who's quarterback? Everything about it, I said, I want to see more from that guy. Yeah. Like I think Garrett Gilbert can be a pretty good backup option for this team. And so I'm a little less concerned about that as well as you. Like I'm in the same boat with you on that.
It's a mix because I sort of agree. I think you could upgrade the position, but not right now. Like unless
what's out there is the problem.
Unless somebody gets cut, or if you want to try to trade for like a Gardner Minshew, can't trade for Nick Foles. I think that's way too much money. Like he's got too much on his contract. But I would have signed Blake Bortles before he went to Green Bay. I mean, you can say what you will about Blake Bortles, but he's started a lot more games than Garrett Gilbert. But I think Garrett Gilbert's just as good, if not better, than what is available to them right now.
Mm-hmm. And quite honestly, I look at a guy like him, and I'm like, I'd rather have him over Bortles, because what I know about Bortles, he started a lot of games, but he hadn't had a lot of production. And I think Garrett Gilbert probably is at the worst, I think Garrett Gilbert is a similar quarterback. And I don't know that Bortles is a much better quarterback than where Garrett Gilbert is.
I'll take my chances that a guy what I want in a backup is somebody who's like been there and done that. And Blake Bortles, he's started at least like 60 games.
He took his team to a championship game, right?
And then the same thing you just said about Garrett Gilbert, like put Bortles, give him Zeke and a healthy offensive line and this receiver core, like I can talk myself into that.
And I think you can argue both sides of that. I lean towards the guy as a backup that will keep himself ready and stays ready all the time. And I don't have it's a small sample size with Gilbert, but we did see it. He was new to everything. I know another guy that you talked to yesterday, Dave, and and asked him about.
He was really impressive too, honestly.
Nah, he's. You didn't look eye to eye with him.
No, he's tall. That's my and like
about Garrett Gilbert.
Yeah,
he's DeMonte Kazee is definitely taller than me too, because everybody is. Yeah. But it's just you spend enough time talking to guys that are 6'2", 3, 4, 5, and 6. When somebody who's 5'10" comes along, you're just like, oh, you're kind of like me.
I want to see that video again before you start working here. Was it Anthony Davis?
I don't think the video of me interviewing Anthony Davis exists anymore, but I covered an
the
SEC.
Basketball player?
Yeah. The Brown.
The 7-footer?
I covered the SEC tournament the year that Kentucky team was amazing. And I interviewed all those guys for ESPN. And Anthony Davis, Michael Kidd, Gilchrist, and I mean it's just ridiculous. I'm not exaggerating. Like I'm holding the mic like that. No.
Yeah, I don't know how that works with 7-footer.
And I think I've finally gotten over it a little bit, but like back then I was it felt emasculating to like stand on a stool or something like that. I was like, no, I don't want to do that.
And now
but
you're like, bring on Shaq. I'll get on a ladder.
Well, it just looks.
Yeah, right. Exactly.
It's not even about being embarrassed. Like it just looks bad when you have to like do this to talk to a guy. So, but yeah, somewhere out there's some grainy video of me talking to Kentucky basketball players, and it looks really bad.
That's so awesome. Hey, before we end the show, I do need to quickly talk about some changes to numbers. There were a couple guys who have changed their numbers. Only one of them is getting a lot of fanfare. Jalen Smith has decided to move from 54 to the number 9, which has some people up in arms about it. I'll just open it up and let you guys give me your thoughts on the move, number 1, and then number 2, how people are responding to it from what you've seen. And I'm sure people have been on in your mentions and said things. So I'd love to hear from you guys what your thoughts are there.
If Jalen Smith was better at football, nobody would care. That's my take. I mean, I think it's weird that a guy who doesn't seem to have a lot of job security would be willing to pay that much money just to wear that number this year. I mean, it is my belief that if he doesn't have a better season, he probably won't be here next year. And so for him to willingly part with that much money just to wear 9, I wouldn't do it. But we've known for a long time 9 means a lot to him. Like he tweeted when he got 54 that part of the reason for it was that 5 and 4 add up to be 9. Like for whatever reason, it's very important to him. It's his money. Like it or not, he's one of the established players on this team, and he wanted to do it. And clearly, Jerry Jones, probably because he was getting part of it, at least, is that he's getting a lot of money back in exchange for it. And also, Jalen doesn't play quarterback. I just don't care. And I think people really only care because Jalen didn't play well last year. If he was coming off an all-pro season, people would think it was awesome. Speaking of Joe Looney wears the number of Nick says the best player in Cowboys history.
Maybe.
But people like Joe Looney.
Definitely top 3.
People like Joe Looney, so nobody cares that he's wearing Larry Allen's number.
It's true.
Chuck Howley and Randy White have better Cowboy legacies than Tony Romo.
Yes.
And nobody was talking about this at all. But, people are, nostalgic and sad about the way Romo's career ended, and Jalen Smith had a bad season, and so people are mad about it. I probably wouldn't have done it, mainly because it's a really expensive thing to do, but if it makes him happy, more power to him.
Yeah, I was telling Nick before we went on there, I was like, what you don't know is I know a lot of these guys are pretty superstitious. And this could be one of those things where he's just like, look, give me my number back. Like that number matters to me. It makes me feel a certain way. And in a year where there are a lot of different things coming at me, and I'm talking about different new players that are kind of in his space now, I need to be at my very best. And he may be like, this gives him that extra superpower. Like, again, superstitions are never logical, but people have them. And I can't for the life of me understand why you'd be willing to pay all that money for it. So the only thing I can think is that maybe it's just the significance of the number. The number just matters to him. For whatever reason, the number matters to him, sure. And he's willing to do it because the number matters to him.
Yeah. I don't, do you have something you want to add to it?
I was looking for a quote. I looked for something.
He said yesterday.
Go ahead.
I don't know if you were looking at a quote from him.
I was looking at a fan quote. I just thought it said it perfectly, and it was like what we've all said, but it was like in a quick 140 characters. It was just like, "Hey, I'm pulling for you," but like, it was basically just, you should be more worried about the fact that they got 4 linebackers to do your job. I hope it works out, but you spent a lot of money to change into a number when you don't seem to be. I mean, play better, just be a better player, and you don't seem like worried that they got Parsons. Oh, they got this guy fell in their lap. They got to get another linebacker. It's like you're just worried about the wrong stuff.
But honestly, the way I look at that is I don't think Jalen is one that probably looks at all those things and is all that worried about it. I mean, you're talking about seriously, you're talking about a guy that has overcome what most people thought he couldn't overcome. And I'm not saying that. All right. And so what it's about perspective. I think he looks at it and says, okay, challenge accepted. I'm good with the challenge. You bring in all these guys, I'm still going to be the one standing at the end of the day. I honestly believe what I know of him, that fits. Like, he does not see that as a problem. He sees it as a challenge, and he's going to meet the challenge.
I'm trying to bite my tongue here, but
why would you just start doing that now?
Well, I just, sometimes I don't measure the things that come out of my mouth and how I say it, and I might regret it later or whatever. But the thing is, with him, yes, great accomplishment. You came out, and everyone respects that, and it's a great accomplishment. It is. But don't be walking around or acting around like you're this badass linebacker playing for the Cowboys, because you're not. And there are certain things, and I try not to judge a player off the field or personality, because that's not our job, really. Our job is to judge a player about what they do on the field. But the thing is, he brings that on the field. And I've seen situations where the Cowboys were sucking on defense last year. And, like, for example, you got these defensive players, and I remember I sent you guys a clip of it, that I think it was DeMarcus Lawrence yelling at everyone and just kind of getting everyone hyped up and, we got to do better. Jalen is the only one walking next to it, like, oh, la, 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 la. Like, it doesn't apply to him at all whatsoever.
He seemed like the assistant manager that the manager was going off on the
employees, he's over there, like, laughing or, like, smiling.
You tell him. When in reality, it was like, I think he's talking to you.
Yeah.
Exactly. And things like that is what, like, makes me boil a little bit. Yeah. It makes me so upset. And going back to the jersey thing, it is not about Tony Romo. To me, at least, it is not about the number. It's about the person who's making that change. I could see a rookie with the number 9. I'll be like, okay. I mean, at some point, you got to move on from the number. Right. But it's just about who it is. And I'm not trying to hate on him so much, but it's just like certain things, when he comes and he takes it onto the field, that's when it becomes a problem to me, because I try not to comment on people off the field whatsoever. And another thing, on his interview from yesterday, he was like, I'm going to try to carry the number 9 legacy. And I'm like, what legacy? What kind of legacy are you going to be carrying here? I mean, I hope he does better, and I hope you're right on this number 9 that has some magical power and gives him some strength.
I'm saying maybe that's how he views it. I don't expect it, like, as Dave always says, like,
maybe
there's
that's
nothing
what he's missing.
superstition.
Maybe that was what he's
but
missing.
Some people do believe in it, and some people it matters to them.
Can he be the third best linebacker in the history of the Cowboys? Because I really think that's what number 9 is. Right,
third best quarterback in the history of the Cowboys.
I think so. I mean, you could argue the Don Meredith and argue Danny White,
an absolute
based off of that, but stats and everything around it.
That's a fair.
I put him at 3. I didn't cover the other 2 guys. I don't think he can be third linebacker.
Got some ground to make up,
but he was wearing the number of one of the best.
True.
I mean, so
that is the underlining stuff that no one's thinking of. Is that honestly, already. He disrespected the 54 more than he's doing with the 9.
I just
gave you Randy White's number.
I honestly think Randy White, you talk about where they rank, Randy White, in my opinion, maybe the best defensive players the Cowboys have ever had. He was dominant.
Him and Lilly, probably.
Bob Lilly, but I mean, if
you want to throw in Dion and what Dion did those few years, but like Manster was like, he was.
Yeah.
I had a Manster poster, and I wasn't even a Cowboys fan. Like, I mean, this dude was seriously one of the best to ever do it, and he wore his number.
And let's also throw this part in about numbers, because there's different rules for different numbers. Some of them are absolutely untouchable. Okay, 74 and 8. You're not getting them.
Yeah.
At 22, I don't think you're getting that either. Some of them you can get if you're a badass at that position. 94, 88, and 54 is sort of in that boat. They try to give it to a linebacker that they think can do something. Bobby Carpenter, laugh if you want, first-round pick.
Right.
They thought, okay, Bruce Carter, yeah, they thought, that they could happen, 54, and that's why they gave it to Jalen.
24 seems kind of similar, too. That was Everson's number, wasn't it?
Yeah, they try with corners.
Yeah.
Barber had it in there, too. But, I mean, and the reason why Jerry, I think, finally, Jerry didn't want to do it at first. From what I've been told, they convinced him, family convinced him he's not a quarterback. If this was a young quarterback, we're not doing it. But Jalen is not a quarterback, so it's fine. We can't keep 9 forever. He didn't do enough for you to be an untouchable 9, but maybe not at quarterback. Same with 33. They give 33 out all the time, but if it's a running back, up-and-coming running back, they won't do that.
Right. Meanwhile, poor Woody's just got to watch terrible DBs wear 28 every year.
And I don't know who's going to wear 82 again.
I can't see that
good luck
going
with
out
that.
anytime
Definitely
soon.
don't be a tight end coming in wanting to wear 82.
There's a lot. There's a lot of tight ends that numbers. They can wear different numbers now, so you don't have to be in the 80s.
Yeah, you talk about an untouchable number.
That one,
Jason's up there now. I
don't see any other life.
That's exactly
huge.
Right.
What is that? That's not even a picture. I can't even call it a picture. What
is
it?
A mural. Yeah, it is a mural. It's a piece of art with his likeness. Yeah.
I just think Jalen Smith's going to take care of this for everybody, and that's true. If you just detach yourself of the emotion of it all, if he feels better in 9, he's going to go out and play in 9. If he plays great, awesome, and it'll be fine. And if he doesn't, then I think the Cowboys have a tough decision to make next year, and it'll
maybe not as tough as you think.
Well, maybe an easy decision, but either way, it's also
be clear.
Be fine. And it just I get that it's a hot topic thing.
Good decision putting it at the end of the show, Derek. Because if you would have put it,
and we would have done a half hour before we talked about the OTA.
Yeah, it's smart.
We appreciate you guys joining us. We'll be back next week for another week. We actually only have a few more shows before we end for the summertime. I think we got 2 more shows here, Amber. We got 2 more shows. One of those shows Amber's going to host. We haven't figured out which one yet, but she's hosting one of them. So we got 2 more shows, and then we're going to be taking a little break.
My boss?
Then we're going to take a little break for the summertime. Till next week, for Nick Eatman, Dave Hellman, Amber Garcia, I am Derek Eagleton. This has been The Break. Live on DallasCowboys.com. Radio.
This has been a production of DallasCowboys.com and the Dallas Cowboys Football Club.
How about this, Cowboys? Yeah!